Clearing now, Captain. Definitely Federation starship. Accessing registry.
Looks like they had a rough ride.
NCC 1701 C. USS Enterprise.
Welcome back to the Sloppy Modeler, and we are coming to you with an update on the Enterprise, USS Enterprise NCC 1701C, as seen in yesterday's Enterprise. And essentially, we've been through the story where this is the travel back in time, and this ship essentially gets absolutely destroyed in the battle. However, it averts a 20-year war. So let's bring you up on the progress since I last left you. Last we were at hull color was in place, I should say. And after the hull color, I was going to add those gloss coats of clear. And so I'll talk to you where we're at, and we'll go from there. Just let me get this lit up. It looks like it's pretty good, and let's do this side here. And oh, come on now, we are off and running. There we go. All right. So the finish. Put a massive coat of gloss on this, and I have started the very first rudimentary decals and started the first bit of detail painting. So in essence, what I've got here is primary hull, secondary hull, and the nacelles and the pylons were all coated with a massive coat of clear. Same thing with the underside, clear gloss all the way around. And this is really making the decaling go very, very slick and very, very cool. So I've got the first batch of decals down on the nacelle, and I've added 2 decals to the lifeboats. And I like these lifeboats because they're all individually numbered, and they have the NCC 1701 logo, if I can read this okay, but I have to take a look at that. I have joined the hull, primary hull to the neck, and again, this was probably the worst joint in the joint, quite honestly. I knew this was going to be a trouble, but it is trouble. So I do have the light leak. I do have the light leak at the neck, and I'm going to fill that with some, I think I'm going to fill that with either canopy glue, and I might use canopy glue instead of microcrystal clear to fill that in with a clear, and then we'll start painting over that. But the real problem is that giant light leak right there, and I think you can see it between the neck and the hull. And the other thing I don't like is that neck and the hull, that sticks out about you know, 1/8 of an inch, maybe 3/16 beyond the saucer. And if I had my druthers, I would have that seal up parallel with it, but it doesn't do that. So I do have nice lights in the impulse engine, and I do have a nice fit on the front deflector dish. I think this goes in just one way here. Maybe. went in a little earlier. There we go. That really turned out nice. Now I've got tape over the inside of that, painted the back blue, but there are virtually no light leaks except for a little tiny one at the top and a little tiny one at the bottom. But in that, I was worried that there was going to be all these light leaks around there, and there isn't. So that is good. So as I said, I'm going to fill this neck with canopy glue and then start painting it over with my my hull color, and that's the challenge that I've got. Green, and then the white, and then the gray, and then the pinstripe, and then the hull color, and then the pinstripe, and the other around this neck. The face is not so bad. It's just when you get down into that groove there and around the back. But we'll start filling with putties and other fillers, and then we'll proceed from there. The other thing I've done is I painted, you can see the difference here at the back of the hull. That one vent's got 2 coats of the champagne, and the rest of these have 1 coat, and you can see it takes 2 coats to cover that green up in order to make that shine through pretty nice. And then I got a coat there, and again, this is decaling and detail paint. The next item of business is there are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 30 green lifeboats on the top, and a significant number more on the bottom. Looks like there are 4, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Actually, 34 total. 34 lifeboats in green on the bottom of the hull, of the primary hull. My concern is with those yellow lifeboats, and that doesn't even flex at all, that's nice. My concern is with these yellow lifeboats is that they are going to show through with a different color on top of that green. So I think what I'm going to do, and I'm just dreading it because means there's 60 some, 65 some 64 lifeboats, that I should paint white first and then do the lifeboats over the top of them. And I think I'm going to do that because that green is going to discolor that lifeboat as it sits under that. Those are too transparent to do that with just the green underneath and not have a different color. I think I might be okay with these 4 here on the top. Oh, here's 4 more green ones. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 on top that are green. That should be painted. I don't think I have to have it perfect on the white, but I do know I need to paint them in order to make this really pop and let those yellow lifeboats do their thing there. Nothing for it except to do the detailing and pull together. So I've got some fill to do, but we're wired 100% through there, and we're ready to apply the base. I'm going to paint that plug a different color just to show that it's the plug and not the ship itself, and then run my wiring down to it. And again, all I'm doing is running down to the base, which is here. I'm going to run down to the base, and I'm going to hollow out a space under here for my USB plug, and then just 1 switch here for the on-off, and 1 switch back there for switching out the strobe circuit. However, I'm super pleased the way this is coming together. I'm super pleased with the color, really pleased with this color here matching up against that green. I think that looks fantastic with how that has come together. That's going to be a nice contrast, especially once I put these in here, the pylons in and the upright pylons in. Get some dark gray onto the phasers. Has to be done. do the lifeboats around the bridge, and then the other thing that I'm got to do is this goes around the bridge with these lifeboats, but I'm not even going to try to do that all in one piece. I think what I'm going to do is separate out the green from the yellow and keep all the yellows in place. I'll probably even separate out these two lifeboats here, and then cut out the green very carefully, and then apply those to each individually as I go, because that bridge has got too many turns and corners and off-camber arcs to it. So I don't want to do that right away to make that happen. And then the other thing that with these aftermarket PMT decals is, and you can see here's where I just did the first section on the one nacelle, and I've got all this decaling to go through yet. These aren't die cut for where the coating is, and as a result, I take my precision scissors that I have somewhere. Yep, here we go. So I use these super sharp precision scissors and cut as close to the lines as absolutely possible. That way you don't have carrier film, and especially in here where it went over the top of those. I mean, that's dynamite. I just am absolutely astounded at how nice that turned out. But I really trimmed that right to the green, right to it, so that it was in play and in place. And when I did that, that made it 100% go in. One little coat of micro sol, and those soaked right down into the hull. They look like they're painted on rather than decals, in my opinion. There's no bubbles, no pops, no squeaks, no silvering underneath there. So anyway, that is the progress since you last saw it. The gloss coat is in, and now I can get this decaling done and underway with a little bit of fun. I like decaling, so we'll move on with that. So in the meantime, we'll catch you back here soon. Stay with us in this update number 5 for the USS Enterprise C, and we'll be back with you soon. Thank you. Okay, welcome back to the Selected Modeler. Continuing with work on the US Enterprise NCC 1701C from yesterday's Enterprise. Just a quick update on what we've got going here and what we need to do yet. And of course we had some good luck and we had some bad juju going on while you were away, and I'll demonstrate that here in a second. Working with the PMT decals, and I went to put on the decals for this other side here, and it turns out that those decals are too short. They're too short by at least 1/4 inch, if not more, to work in that. So that's lined up with the back, and you can see that the front, well, I'll trim that just so they get a real good idea of what we're talking about. And one of these things, one of the things with these decals is that I have trimmed them right on the line, if not tighter, in order to keep that in good shape, or keep that decal from getting out of control. So what you can see here is that this is too short by almost 1/4 inch across the board. That's literally lined up in the back, and those are actually too short across there as well. If you look at the PMT decals from the top, and I've got that here, you'll notice a difference. There's a First of all, that's only got 3 there, maybe 1 hidden under the nacelle, like, depending on your image. But this rear is far narrower than what this one is. I don't know if this is a different run or what exactly the issue is. This is Ambassador Detail Set. But this does not fly with those pylon details. And that's really disappointing because I like that color, and I like the Aztecing that goes with it. So what I'm going to do is this green is going to go on the four rears, on top and bottom, and this gray is going to go on the four or 8 top and 8 bottom on the longer stretches. But I've got to tape that off, and I think I'm going to do this gray here actually on these as well. And I don't know if I've got 6 lifeboats here, so I might just paint those this pale gray at the same time, along with that accent piece there. So that was a bit of a disappointment, because I love the look. It just isn't going to fly for that. It's not going to fly for that pylon, so those are out. However, the rest of this is really starting to come together, I think, pretty nicely. So on the bridge itself, you see I've got this green decal that's put in, and then the lifeboats around it. I cut out this green circle around the bridge right down to just it, using my razor knife or my Stanley knife. Literally cut that exactly around the line, and then these two are separate, those two are separate, and then that was one piece. But there's no way that I could do it that would go well around there in one piece, and that's a one-piece decal according to PMT. There's just no way that was all going to line up and fit without separating that up, and so that's what I did, and it worked pretty well to do that. These nacelle pieces, however, went in fantastic. They're right on scale, right on size, and right there. The lifeboats, I've got 2 sets on the outer hull, and then I have painted the green white on this bottom, or on top, and that's still wet. On the bottom, I've painted those all white, and those are ready for the yellow decals that are going to go over it. And the reason I did that was so that that color would not be highly distorted through that green, and I think it would have been. I think it would have been terrible. I don't know what blue and green together make, or green and yellow make blue maybe out of it, so it really would have highly discolored it. These are not bad on this pale blue-gray. They turned out, but they're even a little bit discolored compared to what these are out here, but I wasn't going to paint all these little tiny ones. So we are moving along, but I'm going to have to tape this off, and I don't like taping on top of clear, because it tends to not look nice when you do that. But be that as it may, I've got to get these painted, so that's 8 on top, and I think, 8 on the bottom. Now it's easy to tape, but it's still more work and time, and now getting an airbrush down in there is going to be a little challenge. I did get the pylons covered in there, and on the side, that looks pretty nice. Even those aren't quite the right size, but they're on the insides. They're okay on the outsides because they're shorter, because of those phaser banks that are right there on the side. So there's technically a phaser bank I have to paint in, and then these fit really nice. But on the inside pylons, those are actually too short as well, but I made do, and I don't like making do, but that's what I had available to me. So that is the start of the detailing of this decal set from PMT. Like I said, I think it's a fantastic decal set. I've got these engine intake warnings in, and this bridge looks nice now. I think I'm really excited about that. However, that is not the right size for those on the PMT decals. So with that, we'll come back to you. Stay with me. The next step is to paint in these. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30 more of these green 30 more of these green lifeboats to paint in white, and they don't take long. And then after those are in, go ahead and put the yellow decals over the top of them once that paint's had a day or two to dry. So we're making progress. Stay with me, and I will be back with you in the next set. Thanks. Okay, so my long nightmare is almost over. Welcome back to the Sloppy Modeler. We're going to talk about the challenges with the PMT decal kit and some of the niceties. I'm going to try to give it a fair shake here, no question. There's some really nice stuff. However, the Aztecing and the green that typically goes on the side of the hull, ran into trouble with that because when I tried to put it on, their black windows in no way matched up where I had them drilled. So it was looking absolutely terrible, and so I pulled them. And like this decal here didn't fit in any way, shape, or form. It fits, and here's what I would recommend. If you're going to use those PMT decals, which I would love to do another kit like this now and use them, because they're really nice. But what I would do is I would finish my model and do all the decaling. But with these decals that are here with those Aztecs, and they're super nice. I'll show you one here in a minute. Once those are in and you've got a clear coat over them, then I would drill my windows here. Because you'll have the black windows that they put in as your guides, and they're actually neater than what mine are, so that's okay, but that's really nice. So what I had to do is I had to go in and hand paint all of this striping in here, and I still have some touch-ups to do around it, but that is all hand painted, and I'm not good at that, so that was just a huge challenge there. And then I had to add in the decal, or I'm sorry, had to hand paint in these chevrons here with the dark green, and then my light gray that, or pale blue gray that matches that. So that was a challenge. And then back to the decals, where, like I said, this one I just put on, so I want to be careful with it. This is gorgeous. The Aztecing here, the green stripe, this subtle Aztecing, and then combined with the yellow life pods, it's absolutely fantastic, and it goes on nice, and they go in really nice. It covered up this seam really well, and all I'm going to have to do once that dries is put some microcrystal clear on it. Not microcrystal clear. Put on some microsol, and you're good to go. So that's what I'm saying. It really is nice. So I have some touch-ups now to do with some of the hull color with my brush and some of the light blue. So I'll touch that up, and then I'm going to spray a coat of clear over that to protect it, and then I can get back to actually decaling at that point. So the lifeboats are on. Those went on fantastic, especially painting them white over the green first. And actually, I probably should have painted these white to give them the same bright white hue. You can see there's a bit of a hue difference. These have almost a greenish to them because they're over that hull color, and these are really bright yellow pop because they're over the white. So I've got to paint I've got them painted on the bottom. Oh, see what's happening here? I'm not paying attention, and I'm screwing up. That's what sloppy modeling is all about, folks. So I'm not going to touch that anymore. That'll still dry out nice and be done. I did paint the chevrons on the front side too. Boy, that was close. I did put on the sensor strips from the kit decals because I think they're nicer than the ones from PMT. So that is done. And then I repainted this green here because I had to touch that up. And the next will be to put the lifeboats on from the PMT models, which again I like. And then I got the yellow thrusters in each corner. Those are in and done. Some of the side from PMT are done. I think that there's enough Enterprise and NCC 1701C decals that I can put some on the bottom and some on the top. And then we'll see how that goes. So it has been about 2 days of painstaking work to recover from those decals not working well with it. Now again, if you put those on at the end of your build and then drill those holes, which you should be able to do, Unless you're like me, you want to see it. Oh, let's see what the lights look like when they come through. But that's what I'm saying, is that you can put those in, drill them once you've got a coat of clear over the decals to protect them, and that would really look nice with their decals, because they're actually quite good. Here's like where the windows go, and they're actually quite good. And now that I've got this painted and done, my next step is to is to carefully cut out these lifeboats, and there's some over there out of this Aztec, and carefully cut that out and place those where the lifeboats are under this. So I'll actually I'm going to go through and paint them white. They're getting very faint because there's a lot of paint on here, but I'll paint those white like I did these, and then lay on these decals there, and then all of the decals here for the bottom you can see, and then here's the thruster decals. Here's the side decal for the side, and the only thing that's really valuable there is that docking port that's right there, and that goes on the side, and I might again cut that out and put that in there. We'll see how those come together. I didn't use these because they're in many parts, whereas the ones on the top are there's just 4 pieces, and I think again the thruster color is nicer with the other ones there. So we're making progress, but and then I've got to put these on, so I'm not going to use these. Those are already done with those lines there, so that is done. I do have a whole decal sheet of battle damage, so at some point, if I do something else, I've got some nice battle damage there if I decide to do one. And then here's what's left of the kit from the kit decals, and these are much nicer for the registry is much nicer here for the NCC 1701C. The pennant registry is much nicer. These pennants are really nice, and these pinstripes that go on the side also. I think this has got nicer print to it, so I'll be using a combination of these along with the other ones. And then here is the actual Aztecing for the nacelles, and there's 8 of these wide strips, and then 8 of the narrow, and then really tiny narrow, and then you've got these here. So it's going to make a nice look across those nacelles, and also you're supposed to use a couple of these across the top of the hull to tie it in, and those will look great. Like I said, we're making some progress here, but it was a nightmare to recover because I couldn't get into these areas to paint. There's just build order. By attaching this hull like I did at the time that I did, thinking that these decals were going to be fine, by attaching that hull, I had no room to work. There's just no room between here and here to get brushes in and all of that. So I think I'm pleased that I recovered as nicely as I did, and so I'm still on track. I'm still, sometimes you take a model and you crinkle it up and you're done with it. It's unfortunate, but I don't have to do this with this one because I'm making progress here. So we'll continue on with the decaling. We'll continue on with some of the detail painting and touch-ups as we come along. One of the things that I've noticed as these decals go on, things start to go into scale. And I'll say this, is that I'm so glad that I use these tiny little holes with those SMDs behind it for my nav lights, because they really look in scale. This is a big ship. It's not quite as big as the Enterprise D, but it's a big ship. I think it's like 800 meters long or something like that, which is a big ship. And if you had a big old navigation light on these corners, as my friend Lou says, that navigation light bulb would be 25 feet or 30 feet across. So that's good. And then the next challenge is going to be to tape off these phaser strips and paint those too. So that's again more detailing, more painting. but I wanted to bring you back up to speed on where I was with the barrel of the secondary hull, the chevrons, and now this decal here on the back. And like I said, that's turned out really nice. And I have to figure out what to do with the neck as far as detailing or painting. I'm not going to do much because it's already a lot of work, and you just can't get in there. So stay with me, stay with the Sloppy Modeler. I will be back with you in the next update. Thank you. All right, well, good evening. Welcome to the second half of update number 5 we're into. A lot of model here for this particular USS Enterprise NCC 1701C. Well, I think you're caught up on what was happening with the secondary hull and the painting of that, and that has been pretty well completed. I do have to do a couple more touch-ups here. And now I've moved on to more decaling. Now that that's done, it's time to decal this up and then touch up paint on a few other things. But we have made some progress recovering from near disaster, if not outright disaster, but it's in play. So a couple of things on the decaling that we're working on next. I've got the hangar deck approach in, and that's going to have to be trimmed. It's just a little long, but that's okay. Now, I didn't trim it as tight as I could, and I used the kit decals for that, so that worked out pretty nice. I started with the top half of the nacelles, adding in some accents, and I've got probably 1, 2, 3, 4 more to go across each top, and then I'll duplicate that on the bottom of the nacelles with the decals that we're talking about. Also, some of you are wondering what color is actually the color of this hull, especially this green here. The camera I'm going to switch to, which is this one here, I'll switch that. That green is the actual green as you see it live and in person, not the green from the overhead. For some reason that white balance is off, and I'm not sure what that is. It might just be this green, because the rest of the things typically show up pretty nice in it. But this is the color on this camera, the close-up here, that we're dealing with. So it's a darker green versus the washed-out lime green. So the top of that is well underway. I want to be careful here, as usual, watching my decals and what I'm doing here. On the bottom of the hull, bottom of the ship, I should say, I did manage to get all of these decals in for the lifeboats on the primary hull, and this has come in really nicely here with this back, with the back of this approach here to the shuttle bay. And then, like I said, I've got to paint. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's 20 in total. 20 in total of the lifeboats that will go onto this. But I've got to paint that white first, and then put that over it. So I am pleased with how this has recovered pretty well regarding the ship. Right. So that is underway, and we're making good progress there. The stand. So what I've done, the stand is just the normal stand, but I've gotten I've sourced a brass tube from my local Hobby Lobby that's hollow. This is a piece here that goes up into the ship, and then this goes in here. Now what I've done is this is ready to feed the wires through, but I clipped away 2 of these supports in here, and that is for this USB charge plug, or halo as some of people call it, and that will fit in there along with the plug just perfect. It'll fit in there just fine with the with that base, so it won't stick down. It'll be easy to pop up and charge it with the mini USB and pop it right out of there. I'll Velcro it in, and that will be just absolutely a nice little contained solution. At least you can carry this around without having to plug it in. I think I've demonstrated these before, but these work just simply by current draw. So when you've got your current draw, they light up, and I'm really pleased with the color of the light. I think it does a great job. I think it looks good, and this isn't fully charged, but for what we're going to do, maybe I can turn these off real quick. You can see that I've still got a significant amount of light coming through almost everywhere, so that's going to be just fine when it comes to dealing with the lighting for this Passat. And it actually tones that down a little bit. It was really, really bright for a bit, and I think this tones it down somewhat and gives us a better view. So we are in the home stretch. We're not there yet. A lot of decaling and detailing yet to do. I still have to do the phaser strips all the way around, and frankly I'm not looking forward to that. That's a big pain in the neck. And then once all the decals are on and the phaser strips are on, then I'll give a coat of X2 on X20, my clear. And let's get these lights back on so that we get where we're back up. My X20, my clear, to harden all of those decals and really really seal them in nicely using that. And then once that's done, then I'm going to go back with my matte coat of gloss clear, and it's actually in the other room, but this is the semi-gloss version of it. And this is the Model Master, and these are lacquer based, so you have to use lacquer thinner, not just my typical Tamiya thinners. But we're making progress. Again, touch-ups, more decaling and more detailing, and then put the glass in as far as the Bassard collectors. And I haven't checked for a while to see if I've still got light leaks, but I think I've eliminated all of the light leaks underneath there. I'll do a in the dark review this time, which I've not done before, and that'll help. That'll help a lot once that's in and done. So we're making progress. I am going to put in, I've got some of these really light Aztecing decals, and I'm going to put just a couple over the hull to liven that up a little bit in order to make sure that works out pretty nice. So get that settled in. Yeah, so I'm going to use some decals over just coming up from here up to that ridge line. I think I'm just going to do two, a wide one, and a narrow one, and I'll do those on each side. And I think the bottom I've got kind of the same treatment that's capable of doing. No, I don't. But anyway, so we're making good progress. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you, actually, for each and every one of you. It's such a joy to see people enjoy watching what I do, and I appreciate the comments and the words of encouragement, because this is it's all a learning experience, as you're seeing as I'm going through this. But we're making progress. We'll probably have one more update, and then the final. So we'll continue on with decaling. I'll probably demonstrate the painting of the phaser banks, because those are going to be something I'm just not sure how those are come together. I'll tell you why, because I'm afraid of paint leaks. So what happens is in that section right there, if you go to tape this off, I'm going to grab some toothpicks, I think, because you've got to burnish that tape right down into that line, or else you're going to get paint leaks. Whatever color I paint this, a dark gray, they're going to leak right down into that groove. And so taping that off, one, you've got to tape it on a curve. Two, you've got to make sure that you get it down as tight as you can, and really burnish it. And like I said, I'm going to have to use a toothpick on those ridges to make that happen. And the other thing that is a challenge is that when I had to redo the secondary hull and the chevrons and so forth, and the bottom chevrons turned out nicer than the front, quite honestly. They look pretty good, so I'm kind of pleased with that. But the challenge with that is you have to the rest of the model's getting beat up, and that's hard. All right, Again, this concludes update number 5. Thank you for watching and subscribing, of course, as I mentioned. And I mean that. Thank you so much. It means a ton to me. And it's got already a little bit of battle scarring, but we're making progress. And we'll see you in update number 6. Thank you.